local history, local culture, local events, your community. This is the Joe Kelly Show.
And welcome to the show, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Our guest is Patti Demma. She's out with a new book. We're going to be talking about the book. It's a book that's going to be helpful to young people, but I don't think it's just helpful to young people. I think older people can get something out of it as well. We'll get into all that, but first we're going to say welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Congratulations on the book.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
And the name of the book is Timmy Is Resilient. And before we get into the book, Patti, we probably should say what you do for a living. You're
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're in charge. Well, you own a company.
I do own a company. It's a new company called Growing Into Resiliency, LLC. And you can find me on the web. And I teach classes on trauma, on ACEs, which is adverse childhood experiences, and resiliency, how to cope with those traumas, how to reduce toxic stress effects. Classes include health effects that happen, and resiliency techniques to help yourself get better.
And we'll get into some of those techniques in a little bit. What gave you the idea to do the book?
I was at a conference and I was listening to them speak on resiliency, and I started just writing down an idea of how to explain it. A lot of the information that I've learned through my career is larger words and bigger concepts, and nobody's really explained it down to the nitty-gritty where people can understand. So I started to write it. I was a preschool teacher for many, many years, 22 years, and I started to write a book, and it just sort of fell out of my head, how to explain to the children that bad things happen and that we have some control over how we feel when we're going through some bad situations.
And there are techniques that kids can use, and I would guess that some of those techniques adults can use as well, correct?
Absolutely. And it's funny because as I hand my book out to colleagues, they read the information and then they immediately let me know that they tried some of the techniques, that they thought about them, that they actually wish that they knew about them when they were younger, and that they find them really helpful. And when they were done reading, they felt better.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the situations that kids and adults get into that are those situations that you talk about?
Absolutely. So when we talk about trauma could be any really hard situation that you're going through. When we talk about toxic stress, that's going through trauma over and over. And the brain's only really meant to do that for about 20 minutes. All the chemicals are set up to do that correctly if you have a crisis, a car accident or something. That could be traumatic. But toxic stress is when children or anybody is going through a situation for more than 20 minutes over and over, and it's going to,
No, that's right.
change affect the chemicals in their brain.
Yeah. Now, where would a death in the family come into play there?
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely considered trauma, and this book could absolutely help with that. So what's nice about this book is that not only does it help families who are dealing with just a one-time, you know what, you're having a tough time, let's go to Patti's book and check it out, how can we get through it? But it also really gives skills for those kids who are going through really long, stretches of toxic stress.
Such as?
Well, child abuse and neglect, are the two big ones that, in my book we talk to children about finding people that you can trust, friends that you can talk to, adults that you can talk to. If children knew more to be able to do that, we may be able to get in there and help families with resources to help them all stay connected and doing well.
Would a situation where a kid's in school getting picked on, can't find friends, feels alone, isolated, would that fit into this scenario?
Absolutely. So bullying is really horrible, and a lot of children experience it at home, and that could create toxic stress. That could create such tension in their heart, in their stomachs, in their heads, concentrations lost in school, appetites lost. Knowing how to hold yourself strong, knowing who your people are. They may not be the people in your classroom, but understanding that you have your core group and your people, and those would be the ones that you then talk to about it, who who see the really wonderful things in you, who not only see what you're good at, but value you as part of the team of the world, you know?
Yeah, what happens to those young people that just can't find anybody?
So, you know, that is sad. And I've done exercises with students, and I'll ask them to come up to the board and I'll ask them to write, who do you tell a silly story to? And who do you tell something sad to? And a lot of times when they get to the sad part, they don't have anybody until we talk about it, until we really think about it. And I'll mention grandparents, aunts, uncles, and then they'll say, oh, I have an uncle that I can tell. So I think if we teach them this in school, if we teach them this at home, and in the back of the book, it talks about helping your child know who are those people.
The character that you have as your main character, Timmy, is Timmy based on anybody, or is it a composite of?
So Timmy I did a scribble when I was writing the original book. And this is really interesting. I sent it to the Buy Nothing New Hartford group, which is a group, it's like a garage sale group where we just give each other stuff. And I said, does anybody have any children artists that would like to maybe collaborate with me? I wrote this book, and here's what the picture I scribbled looks like. 12 children wrote back in with pictures of what they thought their rendition of that was. And Timmy was born from there. Timmy came from my illustrator.
And your illustrator is kind of interesting in herself. 10-year-old illustrator?
She is just fantastic. Yeah. She's 10 years old, and the instructions that I gave her were very basic, like draw this page in black and white and Timmy looks sad. The emotion that she can bring out, the way she takes the shading, she uses the color and pictures to really tell my story better than I can.
And then as Timmy gets happier in the book, the colors start to appear.
Absolutely. So first you start to see them in just the resilience activities, and then you start to see them in him. And in the very end, everything's full color, and he's feeling really good about himself again.
Whose idea was it to go from black and white at the beginning when Timmy is having problems to at the end where it's full color, where he's happy?
Yeah, that was definitely my idea. I thought that visually when children are looking at a book, they're going to understand. If they don't understand all the words and don't understand everything that's going on, seeing it in black and white and then seeing the color start to present, I think that they're going to understand something's changing.
Where's the book? How can people buy the book, and what does it cost?
Right. So right now, the place to get it is through my website, Growing Into Resiliency. And we have a bookstore up there, and it's $14.99, and that includes shipping and tax and everything. Is just $14.99 to get the book.
And you're going to be doing a book signing in New Hartford, yes?
Yes, I'm doing a book signing at Pajama Night at the New Hartford Library.
September 12th?
September 12th, yep.
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock. We're going to do a reading, and we'll do some activities with the students, and it'll be really fun. And a book signing.
And when you say a pajama night, what does that mean? The kids come in their pajamas?
Yes. I'll wear pajamas too. We'll all wear our pajamas for pajama night.
When we come back, we'll be talking more about Patti Demma's new book, Timmy Is Resilient. And we'll find out, too, how adults can stay resilient. Short break, right back. And welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. Patti Demma is our guest. She is the author of a new book, Timmy Is Resilient, and it's about the resiliency that kids need, because all kids go through tough times, so do adults. Are there any comparisons between some of the times that the kids go through and need resiliency and some of the times that adults go through and need resiliency?
Well, absolutely, because when you're going through a tough time, one of the things that you can do that my book teaches about is breathing. And in the book, there's a breathing technique for children that makes it easy, but there's kind of sort of a practice page in there that when you're reading it, it's hard not to do it along with Timmy and his friends. That's the first one.
What's the breathing technique?
So you breathe in a flower. Take a deep breath like you're breathing a flower, right? So that you use the imagery, and most children have experienced breathing in a flower. Breathe it in, hold it in for 3 seconds. After you count to 3, you let out all the air all the way through from your toes up to your head. Then on one of the pages in the book, they practice it for a few minutes. So it's not like do it once and be done, but after you do it for a few minutes, you actually do feel better. And I've had a lot of people read the book and said, I just did it as I was reading it, and I felt better.
You know what that reminds me of is athletes, Major League ball players. You watch them when they come up to the plate, they all take a deep breath and blow it out. And it's I think, a calming kind of a thing.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And you can sometimes, if you're waiting for it, you can feel your shoulders drop down while you're doing it. You're like, oh yeah, my shoulders are like in my ears before I took that breath, and now they're where they're supposed to be.
And then in addition to the, I'm looking at your tips from Timmy's story.
Okay.
Remind your children who they can trust. Family, neighborhood. Sometimes you can't always trust everybody in the family, right?
Exactly. And so I think, you know, if this is any type of caregiver reading this book with children, they could talk to the child and say, let's talk about who in our family can we trust. When you're going through a hard time, maybe you don't want mommy to know for whatever reason, can we trust grandma? Yeah, she's awesome. You know, and children are online easily enough that they can reach out to their family members if something's going on.
Hey, what is, you mentioned being online, what has that dynamic, I mean, when I was a kid, you know, none of that stuff existed.
They're just exposed to so much. And even if it's not on purpose, you know, sometimes an ad pops up. I show, so I work for the foster grandparent program, and I send out videos to them sometimes. And some of the ads are just so inappropriate, even though the content's good. I'm like, no, I can't send this. So I know that there's a lot going on online that children are exposed to. And that's why it's important for them to know that when they get uncomfortable, that when they get worried, that maybe they tripped into a website they shouldn't have, that they don't have to keep things secrets, that they can tell somebody, and that it will help them not become sick. I was talking to a 14-year-old at one of my events. I said, she said she had nobody to speak to. I said, do you know that could kind of make you sick? And she looks at me like, what? I'm like, well, yeah, it makes your heart race, makes your head hurt, your stomach hurt, if you're upset and you don't talk about it. She goes, you know what, I can talk to my cousin. And just remembering there's that person.
You also, one of your thoughts in here is to have the kid, and when we're talking about kids, what ages are we talking about?
You know what, we're kids, it's for everybody.
Yeah,
it's for everybody.
And you say encourage your children to voice their opinion if something doesn't feel right. Sometimes it's just a gut feeling, yes?
Absolutely. And I think when I was little, you kept your mouth shut, you let adults, you know, be the bosses, but sometimes something doesn't feel right as a child. And just to be able to know that your caregiver saying, you know what, tell me when those things happen, tell me when something doesn't feel right, or share it with our trusted person so that they don't have to hold any secrets or feel uncomfortable.
And you say to encourage your children to join groups and take part in activities and spend time with friends. What kind of activities are we talking about?
So, you know, there's a lot of after-school activities that your children could sign up for. And I think those are the best ones because they're in their peer group, they're with their teachers, you get to know your friends a little bit better outside and also grow closer with some other adults. Having children home all the time is very isolating. Their group becomes smaller and smaller, and then they don't have people who see them and appreciate them. You need people in the world that just go, hey Joe, you're doing a really great job. You know, you're rocking this whole news thing, you know, you need people who do that.
My guess is that COVID has just exacerbated this tremendously, yes?
Absolutely, and that's, I think, one of the things that came out of this book is kids became more and more isolated. And I wanted them to know, no, you really need to be able to know who your people are. You have to have people.
Mm-hmm. And the school environment with a teacher, can a teacher pick up on some of this stuff and say to a parent, well, look, you know, maybe he or she needs a little help besides what they're getting in school?
Yeah, so I work very closely with the Head Start program, which works with a lot of families. They do evaluations from during preschool years, and they really look at helping families and making sure they're connected with resources. As they get up into the higher grade levels, you kind of just hope so. And in general, you know, each program is different. I know Head Start does a really wonderful job with the preschoolers and making sure they're connected. But I think that something like this book is good for schools to say, hey, you know what, maybe we don't have a place for kids to voice their opinions, and maybe we need those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good point that you made earlier, in that a lot of times kids aren't encouraged to voice their opinion. They're, you know, you sit there, you be quiet. We don't want to hear from you.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, I was a preschool teacher for so many years, and every one of those, they look so small. They're so tiny, but yet they know so much. They have so many wonderful things to share, and I would never want to shut anyone down, and I would never want anyone to feel like they couldn't be their full self. And, you know, I feel like when you get to grade school, everyone kind of has to calm down. It's getting better, though. They're giving kids balls to sit on and fidgets to play with. I feel like they're starting to recognize what children need. Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
I'm sure if I were to go to a school group today, I wouldn't recognize it from the school that I was used to.
No, probably not.
Yeah,
no.
Okay. Patti Demma is our guest. She's got a book signing coming up on September 12th, 6 p.m., New Hartford Public Library, and the kids are encouraged to come in PJs.
Yep, we're doing pajama night.
Maybe I'll even come up to see how you look in PJs.
That'd be awesome.
Right. We'll be back with more questions for Patti right after this short break. Right back. And welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. Patti Demma is our guest. Patti is the author of the new book, Timmy Is Resilient, and it's on sale through her website, which I have forgotten the address, but I'll bet you haven't.
growingintoresiliency.com.
Okay. And it's selling for
$14.99. Yes.
You're, besides being a writer, besides working with these kids, you're also involved with foster grandparent program?
Yes. So the program is through AmeriCorps Seniors, and I work with Mohawk Valley Community Action Agency as the program director. So this is such a great program. It actually is one of the pieces that helps build resiliency. It's support in classrooms. So if you're interested, reach out to Mohawk Valley Community Action Agency. It's 55 and older. You can choose to work in a school near your home. And then what the seniors do is they go in and they support 2 children in the classroom, but nobody knows who the 2 children are except the grandparent and the teacher. Mm-hmm. So the grandparent's just in there supporting everybody, but they know this little honey may need some support when, so they make sure that they're always over there. It's a really neat program.
Is this something that costs money, or is it?
No, actually, it is income eligibility, and if you make income eligibility, which is 200% of the poverty guideline, they pay you $3.15 as a stipend to participate.
Yeah. The number of foster kids in our area, they've got to be even more resilient than kids who have a full-time family, yes?
They have to work at it every day. It's really something they have to think about and work towards every day. In my book, Timmy Looks Sad One Morning. These children, sometimes it might be sad many mornings, and I think that if we could help them by giving them more skills to feel better, to know who those people are that really see them and care about them, they're going to be able to help themselves.
The illustrator, pronounce her first name.
Cameron?
Cameron Moss.
Yes.
Very talented. I'm, 10 years old.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. She plays hockey.
She just made the Comets all-girls team.
Oh.
How fantastic is that? She's the goalie.
Yeah.
She's just amazing, so talented.
Do you think you two might hook up on something again in the future?
Oh, you just got onto something. We've signed the contract. She's drawing for my next book. It's actually a continuation of Timmy's story with his family.
It's going to be something about resiliency again?
It's called Road Trip to Resilience, and it's about Timmy and his family kind of having a hard time getting to where they were going, showing up at a scavenger hunt of resiliency activities, learning as a family how to do activities, and feeling great in the end.
Are you enjoying the writing? Are you enjoying this whole process?
It is absolutely amazing. I feel like everybody I've given this book to has seen the reason for it more than just, oh, it's just another children's book. It's really got some good information. And the more it happens and the more people see it and tell me how great it is, it's just such an awesome feeling.
Yeah. I mean, I make a living writing, but I find it to be a tough process. It's not I mean, Dorothy Parker had a saying way back in the 30s. She said, "I hate writing, but love having written." That's how I feel about it. But I get a feeling that maybe you actually enjoy the process.
So I write the whole thing in my head first. So nothing comes out until I feel like I have the whole, and they're children's books. You're writing, really well-written, long paragraphs, and I'm writing a couple sentences on a page, but until the whole story's created, then I write it down.
Yeah, I almost think that you might have a tougher job writing for the kids than those long paragraphs. The world of kids is a world that's, I don't know, not the easiest thing for an adult to understand. Is that part of the problem here, is that we get, as an adult, we get so busy, we get so focused on our needs and our pressures that we forget that the kid has got some needs and pressures too.
100%. And if you weren't taught as a child to consider your own feelings, now you're an adult and you're not even considering your own feelings. You're just going through day to day. The child's getting all that stress and pressure from you, and then you're not passing that along for them to feel better. So you're all just living in like that anxiety and stress.
And with the kids that don't have their natural parents with them, it's just got to be so much tougher.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's important for kids to know that it doesn't have to be your mom or dad, but if there's an adult in your life who really values you, who sees what you're good at, and who appreciates you, that's the person you should spend time around, share your dreams and hopes with, because they'll help you. They'll help you connect to the right sources. If you're around people that are just bullying you or making you feel bad, and you're telling them those things, you're just gonna not be encouraged to pursue it.
In your practice, when you're dealing with adults, what's the most common thing that comes through for adults that they have to find this resiliency to get through?
I think that adults don't think they need help. They've got it.
Yeah.
They got it. So that's why I like the tool where you're teaching your kids, because you're not really teaching yourself, but aren't you? Like when you read through this, you're learning. You can't help but learn. So writing a book for adults, they may not read a self-help book, but this is actually a self-help book for children that adults can take the skills from.
But the thing that adults are facing, they may not be facing bullying, but maybe they're facing work problems or work?
Well, it's bigger than that, right? So with all the things that have happened through the pandemic and all the trauma, a lot of people have gone into abuse, drug abuse, alcohol. There's a lot of real adult problems that I think if they knew that they were able to work themselves through some of it, they might not go to the bottle right away or whatever other things they're using to cope. What this is it's not even, this is not a coping mechanism. These are real, true skills that help build the correct chemicals within you. When someone's telling you great things about yourself, you know you're getting great chemicals in your brain. These are things that people should be doing. So people who are really struggling should look for support groups where people see you and value you. They shouldn't suffer alone. They should try to find their voice.
It's tough sometimes for an adult because well, I should be tougher than that. I should be able to do it on my own. But I love your idea about the deep breathing, because that was something I was taught in Little League many years ago by a coach. He said, you got to calm down, take deep breath, blow it out, relax.
I learned it actually, a Navy SEAL was talking about that was the skill they used, and they count to 5. They hold it for 5. In the book, I have the children holding it for 3, just so that counting doesn't become, part of the issue.
Well, good luck with the book.
Thank you so much.
Patti Demma, she is the author of Timmy Is Resilient. You get it on her website. That's it for this time. We'll be back next week. We'll do it all again. Don't forget cnyhomepage.com. Lots of good stuff there. Until next time, take care of yourself, everybody.